You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Ian, look at this.
What, it's a police box. What on earth's he doing here? Well, these things are usually on the street. I feel it. Feel it, you feel it?
Faint vibration.
It's alive.
Earth Station Who, a fun mashup celebrating nearly 50 years of the Doctor Who universe. Hold tight. You never know where the TARDIS is going next.
Blossom, yes, Blossom. That's the only sad thing. I want to know what happens next. Right then. Doctor whoever I'm about to be. Tag. You're it.
When are these teeth? What? What?
Hey there, Whovians, and welcome to another episode of the Earth Station Who podcast. We are back in the Ninth Doctor era, and we are looking at the two-parter Aliens of London and World War III, which brought us back to present time London, and, well, for the series, and we also got farting aliens. It was awesome. It was great. And it also did lay a lot of groundwork for further into the season and actually a couple seasons to come. So it was actually pretty interesting to see. It'll be fun to talk about. This is my first time watching it since it first aired. So we're looking 15 years, folks. So with longer, actually, because this is 2005. So actually, God, 18 years. Oh, my God. All right, let me go get my walker now. So, and of course, we're here with our regular crew. Let's say, of course, hello to Mary Ogle.
Hi, everybody. It is fantastic to be here.
And, of course, Mr. Mike Gordon.
Howdy.
I was waiting for that howdy. It's always great to hear that. It's always great to hear from you guys at home, too. So feedback at ourstationwho.com is the best way to get in touch with us. This is going to be an interesting one to talk about because I hated this one when it first came out. And so it'll be interesting to see if my opinion's changed in 18 years. So let's get into it in a few minutes, but we got some Doctor Who news to touch on. We've been getting a series of little shorts, like 30 seconds, that have been very cryptic and that they're putting out, giving hints about, what's happening on, if we're going to get a trailer or what the new series is going to be about or the specials. I'm very curious. What about you? With you guys, have you been following them, or did you, try?
I've watched them. I'm not enlightened by them.
So your world is not a better place for it.
Well, I don't know. Actually, I mean, the dialogue is in reverse, but if you go on YouTube and there's lots of versions to watch where it's been reversed back, so you can actually tell what they're saying. But they say so little that it doesn't really tell you anything about what's going on. They're just kind of fun little clips, little flashes.
Yeah, it's interesting. I am, Mike, you're not big into trailers or stuff like that anyway.
Not really. No, I knew the only reason I watched one of them was because I thought, we're probably going to talk about this on the podcast. So, and I didn't know there was multiple ones. I just thought there was the one. So I just watched one of them. I can't even tell you. And it went by so fast. And I was just like, this does nothing for me. I mean, I'm already excited to see new Doctor Who. So the purpose of a trailer to get me excited to promote it is lost on me now anyway, because I'm already there. So I don't need anything else. But I am happy though. I mean, if this is creating some buzz, I mean, how cool is that for Doctor Who to be doing something to create some interest in people watching this season? I mean, that's a good thing.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, that's unusual.
Yeah, I mean, this seems to be like a coordinated effort, and I don't know. It'd be interesting to see behind the scenes. Is this coming from Russell? Is it coming from in his company, Bad Wolf? Is it coming from BBC? Is it coming from Disney? Is it coming I don't know how these are airing. If they're airing, where they're airing at. I think the link that you guys had posted on the Facebook page went to YouTube, I think. So I don't know.
Well, they aired on the BBC.
Gotcha. Yes. Okay. So
they just broke in.
Gotcha. So there seem to be BBC type promos, but yeah. I mean, anything that I remember. Although it seems kind of dated, because back when we're going to talk about going back in time and watching Doctor Who, but when Doctor Who was really was coming back and Russell T was in charge, internet games and promotional things were a thing that happened a lot. Go to the website and play this or link to this, or there'd be clues that you could go to this and Easter, stuff like that. You don't see that as much anymore. So I kind of find it interesting that it seems like this is a throwback to 18 years ago, where it's hey, the internet is a new thing. Let's click on stuff and make it fun.
Yeah, it's very RTD to do something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of over in watching Christmas Story when Ralphie had her little Orphan Annie decoder ring to figure out what the clues were.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's supposed to be clues.
Is that what it says when you when you play it backwards? Drink your Ovaltine?
Yeah,
mm-hmm, exactly.
I mean, the whole thing about doing them in reverse, well, she's gone back to a previous doctor, so I assume that's, the whole reverse thing is going to be, this is a clue.
Well, exactly. Exactly.
I mean, don't ask me what it means. They do mention Gallifrey in the second one, I think.
Yep, they do.
Because, as we know, Gallifrey was destroyed for the 5 millionth time.
By the Master this time.
Yes, at the end of Flux, so...
Mm-hmm. So, it's craziness. So, it'll be very interesting to see what they do with it. We also got some other Doctor Who news. We got some more casting for season 15. And it is, well, actually, it's season 14 still, correct? Because it's just the specials on season 14. Correct?
I guess is that how it's working?
Well, they've been calling, haven't they? They've been calling it season 14.
Yeah, they are calling it season 14. Yeah. So we are actually getting Jonathan Groff in as, for Doctor Who. So the hopes of a Doctor Who musical is becoming more and more a realization.
We got Jinx Monsoon. We got Jonathan Groff.
Mm-hmm. And, for those who don't know who Jonathan Groff is, go check out his IMDb, folks. He has been in a billion things.
Yeah.
And
on Broadway.
Oh, very much so. He played a certain King of England in a very famous, recently, very, very famous musical featuring the American Civil War. The Revolution War. God,
you can product of the American educational system.
You can tell people. I'm a historian. You can tell people it was Hamilton. That's no big. Okay. That's no big secret.
I know. Yes,
he was in Hamilton, and he was in Hamilton. And for those people who didn't catch him on Broadway, he's in the version that you can see on Disney Plus.
Well, that was filmed on Broadway, so
yeah, but it was significantly after his run on there. So they made it a point to get the original cast together again. So he's the one that kind of not invented, but created the role really and established the role.
Established the role.
And
So,
yeah, and he's solid. And whether or not the thing that I think is cool is that whether or not we actually do get a musical episode, which I'm not opposed to because I think that could be really fun. But I like most of the people that I've heard cast that I recognize anyway, or even when I look at them and I'm like, okay, I didn't know them, but looking at what they've done, I'm like, this is, I wouldn't call it stunt casting, but the way that this is being cast, I'm like, well, there's a lot of interesting, we're going to see a lot of interesting actors play various roles in this. And that is a good thing. It's not just going to be people that you don't know or, folks that are like cheap to get, this isn't, I mean, I think it's been a while since, I always think that Doctor Who's one of Doctor Who's strength throughout the classic era and even the Russell T and Stephen Moffat era was that when you got secondary characters, no matter how small the role was, they were played by Shakespearean engaging actors, and colorful people as well, colorful characters as well. So I think we're seeing obviously a lot of diversity, which is surprising no one, and solid accomplished people wanting to do Doctor Who. Again, that's a great sign.
Mm-hmm. I think it's pretty awesome. I think I'm loving the casting. I'm loving what I'm seeing for Doctor Who. It's actually getting me really excited for the specials and the next season.
Because I can't remember the last time leading up to a season that we got this many like casting announcements. It was just like, oh, we'll just watch the episode and hey, look at that. I recognize that guy. Or, maybe that's, so, I mean, we're actually getting a steady stream seems like every week, or it seems like now every time we record every couple weeks, we have like one or two casting announcements that's being made about the season, which I think is really cool. That means that, they're actually promoting it. Solid actors are interested in it. They're getting quality people. I mean, these are all good things, I think, about the series.
Yeah, I mean, we usually don't get any announcements at all.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm pretty happy about it. I mean, Neil Patrick Harris is a singer too. He's a Broadway guy. So.
It's true.
Yep, exactly. So you might have a singing celestial toy maker. Might be very fun to see.
Yeah. Well, we don't know if Neil Patrick Harris is actually in.
You've seen him in the top hat and the cane and everything.
Very
so
much like a ringmaster. So maybe this is the circus series.
Oh yeah.
Well,
very, very interesting.
I mean, do we know that Neil Patrick Harris is in Shooty's run?
No, we don't know.
Okay.
No. Well, we don't know actually. Yeah.
Right. We don't even know. We know he's in the specials, but we don't know which one of them.
Right. Because most of the casting announcements we're getting now are past the specials, right?
Well, we don't know if the specials are going to tie in any way to the next series. So,
yeah.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, and that's great. I'm glad that, I mean, they're not telling us who these people are playing, what's going, I mean, but we just know that there's solid actors participating in the new season with specials and season. And that's something exciting, I think. And hopefully there'll be some surprises too.
Oh, I want to be surprised.
Yes.
I would love to see. That's the one thing I will say about the Jodie's Regeneration episode. There were some pretty decent surprises with casting and such in the stories. So
Chibnall was able to I think maybe just because no one really cared what he was doing, so he was able to. Look, how many minutes are we into this?
18 minutes into the episode. That's actually too long for us.
So,
that's a pretty long time.
That's got to be a record, right? Yeah. I mean, nobody really cared what he was doing, so I guess he was able to slip some really good surprises in for us because nobody really cared. So, no, just kidding. But I mean, it is tough to do. We've seen other shows not really succeed at it very well. But they're usually able to keep a tighter lid on things for Doctor Who productions because there's been many times, even before Chibnall. I mean, Moffat threw a couple of big ones in there too during his run, I remember.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Very, very much so. So I'll be very curious to see what happens. So fingers crossed. And, here's the good things, my friends. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Very much so.
Looking forward to it.
And we've got some great things ahead for you guys that'll hopefully keep you guys excited and coming back to the podcast. Please, 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 please. Not that we beg for anything. All right, let's just go right, instead of taking a break, let's go right into the episode. And we got the two-parter. We're going back all the way to 2005, and we are looking at, wow, this is Christopher Eccleston, 4 episodes in of his run, and Billie Piper is Rose Tyler, and you also had Jackie and Mickey, and it was a fun story. It was a fun story. And you, right off the bat, when they land, you see some of the repercussions of traveling with the doctor. Oh, we've been gone 12 hours. And then the doctor realizes his mistake because the TARDIS was slightly off. Slightly off. Well,
this is new, right? This is a new thing for Doctor Who. Like at the time, I wasn't aware of it too much because I didn't have that much history with Classic Who at the time when this came out, but still, this is like in all of Classic Who, the companions as this just go with the doctor. There's never a time where they come back, revisit their homes, revisit their families, or are constant contact with people outside of the TARDIS or anything like that. Like this is something new that Russell T brought to the franchise.
Mm-hmm. That's all new series. They did not do any of that.
Right. So, and I remember, at the time, some people liked that and some people really didn't. A lot of the purists, of course, didn't like that. And those people who were not really big fans. I mean, Jackie's not, you're not supposed to love her. She's supposed to be pretty annoying and everything. But although I do find her in this two-parter toned down compared to what she does later on.
Well, and her reaction is pretty understandable.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
I mean, her child's been missing for a year.
Exactly.
And poor Mickey was the one who was getting the blame for it.
I'm sorry, I still can't watch him and like him.
Oh, that was uncomfortable.
I mean, I never was a big Mickey fan anyway.
You were never a big Noel Clarke fan.
No, I wasn't. And that was before all the garbage came out of him, about him. So I now I just look at him and just be like, just please go away. Like, just like, let's just move on. Because I can't. Yeah. So he's just one of those ones that I don't care about anymore. So I have no feelings other than that about him, but I was wondering about this while watching this, Mike. Now, we all know that, in addition to our, poking fun at Chibnall, every chance we get, that you are a pretty devoted, Rose hater. I'm wondering if,
well, let me
ask my question first, and then you can answer it.
Okay, fine.
When did you start hating Rose?
When she was with Tennant. I liked her tons.
So at this point, you're still a Rose.
You're a fan.
You're still on Team Rose.
I am Team Rose because there was no romance at all between the two of them.
It kind of it's kind of implied.
No, not really. And it was interesting. No, when she became basically the lovesick puppy, when Tennant came on, and they both were, and I was like, no, this is not my Doctor Who. And this is not what I wanted out of Doctor Who. And that's when I started disliking Rose Tyler. And it almost seemed like in parts that she became more important to the story than the Doctor did. And, I never felt that with the Ninth Doctor. I thought the chemistry between Eccleston and Billie Piper were wonderful. I thought they were great together. And there's so many great stories yet to come in this season that that we haven't gotten yet. And it's her character was, I thought for a new age companion, this is exactly what I wanted, and I liked it a lot and everything.
Yeah, I don't get a romance vibe from them.
No,
actually.
not at all.
I just sort of get a, kind of goofy best friends.
Yeah, exactly.
I
And because she even says,
I mean, that's just me.
Yeah, because she even says when the mom, says, "Oh, so this is, are you in romance?" And they're both like, "Oh, no, 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 no."
Oh, yeah, because they're not going to lie to themselves or each other, right? So they're not going to lie to other people or themselves. I think the seeds are here. I really do. I think that was Russell's plan all along, and I think he's just like the kid scrawling "Bad Wolf" on the TARDIS. I think that he's sowing the seeds this early for that.
Well, no, I think it would have been different with a different actor. Like if Christopher Eccleston had not ever been there, if we had started with David Tennant, then I would probably feel more of a romance vibe. I think wonder, it has something to do with the chemistry between the actors.
And that's something I don't know. I don't know if Russell did have that plan in mind. If he had, I mean, there's all that behind the scenes stuff that I'm not sure we'll ever really know exactly what happened. I mean, there's some rumors that Russell wanted David all along. So,
no, yeah, he did.
And that,
I mean, he has said
and
that.
So that Russell knew that, that Chris was just kind of a placeholder until he could get David there. So I don't know. I gotta feel like they're sowing the seeds. It's not quite developed there, and it's not that obvious, but it is obvious to me watching this that Rose has very little interest in Mickey, which I don't blame her for at all. No. Even Noel Clarke aside,
there's just nothing there.
And she is, maybe not in a sexual way, but she's in a romantic way, but she's infatuated by the Doctor, and you could argue in an unhealthy way.
No, I think
certainly the mom thinks it's
fascinated
unhealthy.
By the Doctor, by what he can do for her, basically take her places that she has never ever dreamt of. And he's already shown her, Elizabethan England. He's also showed her, the end of the world, the Earth. Yeah. So at this point, and so it's just fascinating, and I love at the end of it, when she has the bag and everything, and she says, this time I'm prepared to go with you, for longer, and, type thing. And because she thought it was just like they both thought gone for 12 hours instead of 12 months. And it was just very interesting. And it showed a really interesting side of society too, because you had this huge alien spaceship, and crashing into it. And they went back to Jackie's apartment to watch it on TV with everybody, and everyone's ordering pizzas and everyone's talking and just, gossiping, not paying attention to what's happening on. And that's so what society would do.
Oh, sure.
In real life.
Yeah, the Doctor's trying to watch the TV, but nobody else is.
There's a, it's very cartoony, but there's a realness to it that that's very much grounded with Rose and her relationship with Jackie, and the way that everybody reacts to the aliens, the actual invasion and the discovery of alien life, and the way that the government's responding and everything like that, and the news reports that we're getting throughout the whole two-parter, that seems very grounded in some sort of hyper reality, but it's still grounded because it feels like, oh yeah, I could see that would happen that way.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. And it was just interesting, and even how the government was handling everything.
Well, half the government were aliens. So.
Exactly. And we got a great introduction to Harriet Jones in this one.
Yes.
She's great.
Yeah, she is.
It's for those people who haven't watched ahead, if anybody's listening to this and has watched this parter and doesn't know what the fate of her is, it is kind of interesting to watch her now, because this is the first time I've seen her since the events that happened later on with David Tennant's run with her, and so I'd forgotten how fun and cool of a character she is. She
is. Well, she only appears in the three episodes.
Right.
And it was interesting too, because, how the doctor at the end of it was like going, "Oh, Harriet Jones, the second golden age of the UK," and everything. And it was just interesting. And then it all falls apart when the doctor goes, "She looks tired to you, doesn't she?"
Yeah.
And he brings her down. So it's just very interesting.
Yep. She gets too full of herself and he brings her down.
Mm-hmm. And then you get her death in the Dalek story.
But I mean, that's arguable, because I don't know if she is too full of herself, because what she does
from the doctor's point of view.
Exactly.
I'm not saying from our point of view.
Right. She's very human, and she's very human in this. And there's one scene in particular where she and Rose are hiding from one of the chasing Slovene that are after them, and they go into the Prime Minister's office, and they go into different parts of the room. Rose hides behind the desk first, and then behind the curtain, and Harry Jones is behind some sort of dressing wall or whatever you call those things.
Yeah. Screen,
a wardrobe or something.
And thank you. And which is a weird place for that, but I guess I don't know. Anyway,
because Doctor Who, dude.
But one of the Slovene finds Rose first, and Harriet, without even missing a beat, she just runs right out and says, "No, take me, take me, take me." She's willing to sacrifice herself for this little girl she doesn't even know. And I thought that was, that's just so cool. And there's another point where I have to give Mickey credit for this. There's another scene where he offers to sacrifice himself for someone, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool that these characters are doing this.
Yeah, well, he helps Jackie out. He protects Jackie.
Yep,
very much so.
And he's Harriet Jones Harriet Jones is the only competent person in the entire government.
No, and it's interesting too, because the actress, we've seen tons on Downton Abbey, and it was
right. Yeah, we see her later on that. Yeah,
yep,
and apparently, Russell T had worked with her before and wrote the role specifically for her. So it's too bad she wasn't used more, but she's solid, and she certainly makes an impression, I think, during Russell T's run. I wouldn't even be surprised if she had, done some Big Finish, because I could see that character popping up on Big Finish.
Yeah, she'd be good in Big Finish.
And even though she's only in 3 episodes, she's mentioned in multiple epidodes, and she has she has sort of I think she has her character anyway has a what do you call it? Impact on the creation and the running of Torchwood.
Well, Torchwood had been around since
the Victorian times.
Queen Victoria, but
yes,
and there's whole storylines, but about how Jack.
I didn't say she created Torchwood.
Okay,
the running of Torchwood, because they do mention her a few times in both Torchwood and in the episodes where I think that 2-parter where the Daleks and Cybermen attack and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, But anyway, she's an important figure, and I appreciate her introduction here. She's really interesting, and it's just that's like I was saying at the top of the show, like these are episodes where they get quality actors, the characters are developed really well, and they resonate. Some of them even so much as, and if Harriet Jones had said, like, I want to be a companion, I'd be like, okay, she's kind of cool.
It's so nice to have characters we care about.
Exactly.
It just makes this huge difference. Even one of the Slovene, not so much in this episode, but in a later episode where she appears again, and where you really get into her backstory and her motivations, becomes
feel for her.
Yeah, she really becomes a character with a lot of presence that you can feel, emotional about.
Because even the small characters like Dr. Sato, right? Who shows up in Torchwood later, right?
Well, yeah, Well, yeah, because they explained that, because the actress was hired to play the role, and then she was also then brought on for Torchwood, and
Right.
they basically said, they retconned it in, basically saying that the person who was working for Torchwood, who was supposed to go, was sick, and so they had to put her in. So it was pretty cool.
No, but even the small role that she has here, she makes an impression enough that you're like, yeah, I'd like to see more of her, and we do,
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting, and it's interesting. The actress Annette Badland, who played Margaret Blaine, the Slevine, the female Slevine. It's weird seeing her now because she's on Ted Lasso.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's been on a lot of things. She's on
she
Murder,
has.
She Wrote. Oh, I mean, not Murder, She Wrote, Midsummer Murders.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty interesting to see. And it's like every time I see her, I'm waiting for her to fart. So, it's...
that whole thing, I could have, do it. If you got to have the joke, do it once or twice, okay? But to have it running on for so long, it drives me crazy just because this actually has the seeds of a good episode, and that is just really distracts from it.
It really takes it down like 5 notches.
Yeah, it really does. And it's so unnecessary.
Yeah. Like, you couldn't have, like...
thing. But for us, it is. But when William watched it the first time, he thought it was the best thing in the world, Well,
I'm not even saying take the joke out. You can have the joke, just don't go on with it for so long, because it just starts really detracting from the rest of the script. I mean, I'll even say that about the pig pilot.
The pig pilot was awesome.
Yeah, but the thing about the pig pilot is it is not necessary to the story. And so I can see RTD writing that and thinking, oh, this is really cool, because it is really cool, but it has nothing to do with the story. So it just ends up kind of just being there, like a filler thing.
Yeah, and I must say, watching it this week in particular, with all the genetic
the Guardians of the Galaxy
experiences experiments and stuff that was going on with the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and also there's genetic manipulation of test animals in one of the most recent Titans episode, that I'm just like, this is a trend that I'm like not really in favor of. Like, could we and I know this was shot 18 years ago or whatever, but it's like, it just kind of came up at the same week, and I'm like, man, this is not really, like, as you're pointing out, man, it's not necessary. It could have just had an empty ship crash or something. I mean, obviously the ship crashing and everything is supposed to happen, because that puts everything into motion, but exactly what they find there and all that kind of stuff didn't, because that, you're right, doesn't go anywhere, because it's not like they ever use that technology or even explain it away, but and it's just a really, really cruel thing to do.
It's played as a joke, but it is actually a horrific thing.
Well, I don't know if it's that much of a joke. I mean, because when the big starts running around,
well, I didn't personally take it as a joke, but that's how they shot it. That's how they shot it when he's running through the hallways, and that may be more a director thing than a writer thing.
See, I didn't feel that way, because Chris sold it to me that like don't kill it and don't protect it, and when it's shot, I didn't feel like that was funny at all. Like, if that was supposed to be a joke, it didn't really work. It didn't resonate with me, because I was like, because Chris's reaction to it is like, what the hell did you do that for? Like, that was like, yeah, I thought that was
like you said, it was scared. It wasn't,
And then,
I
then looking
agree.
over
Chris
and saying it was so cruel. Everything involved with this thing is so cruel that it is. Yeah, I don't know if it really had a place in this story.
I mean, you can't. It's not that. I mean, you certainly could make that a plot point in a story, but it just didn't fit in with this. Story.
No. I mean, yeah, that aliens that are farting all the time have also the capability of this kind of cruelty is just kind of like a mixed bag. I mean, maybe in the hands of James Gunn, it can be executed really well, but not in the case of Keith Book and Russell T Davies for an episode of Doctor Who anyway. I did feel like that was not really necessary, and that did not age well as far as I was concerned with this. As long as, and the farting thing, yeah, I mean, I guess it's one of those things that you're like, okay, well, if kids are, at this point, they're still making this to hopefully have families watch it and kids watch it and all that kind of stuff. I don't think that exists much anymore as far as the way they approach Doctor Who. But I think at that time, they were still kind of hoping that it would bring that same sort of family vibe like Classic Who did. And so you see a lot of elements like this throughout the first season of Doctor Who, where there's like stuff that's just there for kids, it seems like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think if they had just, let it, made the joke, but not kept going on and on with it, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But they just, it just starts to detract from the story. And that's why, like, we call it the Farting Aliens episode for a reason.
Yeah.
And that's, it's too bad because it's actually a better episode than.
Oh, it's a completely better episode than
it's
I
been
remember.
tagged as.
Yeah.
But that's not what people remember about it.
Now, and it's interesting too, because, when this new series came back, they had this character, I think his name was Clive, who was a Doctor Who, the Doctor expert. And he had all these pictures of the Doctor, and he was warning Rose about the Doctor. And Mickey had also found all this information about the Doctor on the internet and everything. And at the end of it, the Doctor gave Mickey this disc to erase him from the internet and, all the records.
We don't know if he did it.
I doubt he did it.
I mean, they really run with that when Stephen Moffat comes along.
Well, I was going to say the episode Love and Monsters kind of implies that they didn't. He didn't put the.
Well, they didn't. Yeah, during RTD's era.
No,
it
exactly.
becomes a big plot point in 11's era.
Exactly, because Linda.
Yeah.
So it was interesting that they did that.
I did like the fact that this is the first time in New Who where we get a reference to Unit. We don't really
very much so.
See them.
You do see Unit, like they're the ones blocking the audience.
I mean, they don't even really identify as Unit.
Right,
no.
Exactly. That's what I meant. You don't really. It's not like you have you're introduced to any characters in Unit.
You
or
don't get a
like
brigadier or anything like that.
Yeah, you just get a sort of a name mention, like, "Hey, it's Unit," and that just allows the Doctor to gain access into the computer, really, the computer files. But I mean, apart from that, it's not really. It's just kind of. And I think Russell was at this point very concerned. I mean, I think he did he wanted to bring a lot of elements from Classic Who in, but he didn't want to use those as crutches. He didn't want to, next episode, of course, he's going to introduce a Dalek, but he did that very slowly and only sparingly. By the time Stephen Moffat is the showrunner, like he's throwing it in like every 5 minutes.
Yeah, of course.
yeah, but that's because he can. I can understand why RTD was concerned about bringing back older monsters and characters that people weren't going to know.
Yeah,
exactly. And it was interesting too because you got the Doctor. He's a well-known alien specialist, and all the alarms went off when they put in the name Doctor and TARDIS, and I love the scene though when the police cornered him and Rose, and of course Mickey runs off because he's a wuss, and I thought that scene was awesome, and the Doctor wasn't worried at all, and he says, "We're being arrested." He says, "No, we're being escorted," and I love that.
Yeah, that was great.
Or the scene where the Doctor was in, basically, when he was in Downing Street, and he walked into the room of soldiers, and they all just pointed the guns at it, and he just gives this one password, and they jump and follow him. So it's pretty awesome.
Chris is amazing in this. He is his depiction of the Doctor, who, even though he's got some darkness behind him and has been through a lot. We find out later, of course. Actually, in the next episode, we find out a lot of the stuff that's on his shoulders. But up to this point, he's got a lot of darkness, and yet he's so excited, and his genuine excitement over the unknown is infectious, not only just to characters like Rose and other people in the series, but to us watching it as well.
Yeah, he loves that. He loves a mystery.
Yeah.
I mean, you really almost get a lot. There's a lot of Sherlock Holmes parallels in Doctor Who, and you really get that, especially from Christopher Eccleston, who is kind of that kind of character. I mean, yeah, he's brilliant in this, and Billy Piper's good too.
Oh yeah, I think you know, I mean, I think and I think you know, Jackie is pretty good too. I think you know, the only, you know, I'm not going to dwell on Noel, but I mean, yeah,
we don't talk about Mickey.
Right.
No, we don't.
We don't talk about Mickey.
No, we don't talk about Mickey.
But Camille does a great job as Jackie. I think, you know,
she's
I mean,
great as
sometimes I look back on her and I'm like, sometimes I didn't really care for her on the screen, but this is before I think she gets really cartoony later on. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because I think she still does a great job, but especially in that, you know, alternate Earth 2-parter with the Cybermen, she's like, I that's the Jackie I really don't like. But here she's still very grounded, and yeah, you definitely feel like, man, this woman's been through hell for the last year.
She's very real. She's very human here, and it's easy to sympathize with her and see why she could legitimately hate the Doctor.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, he basically kidnapped a child for a year.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's interesting because, you know, Rose is only 19.
Yeah.
And that's her baby still.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
And everything. So I
actually found that relationship and that stuff that was going on in this 2-parter, and the sort of idea of how, you know, humanity would respond to first contact and whatnot. I found that more engaging than the actual Savine plot in this. I mean, yeah, the fact that they were farting all the time was really annoying. But even beyond that, it was ridiculous that, you know, the suits that they were wearing and they had to compress themselves. And I thought the effects, although for the time, I'm sure they were, you know, they were pretty good. But they don't hold up well, and I don't like the look of them at all. And so they don't really, they're not a race that I ever cared to see again. And yet we do get to see them again. At least one more time.
Well, you get to see them also a lot in Sarah Jane Adventures.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we're going to be reviewing those eventually, folks.
We'll get there.
Oh, yes, we will.
There's some dodgy CGI here, but it's not. I mean, for the time, this
is still
fine.
2005. It wasn't bad.
Sure. Well, actually, some of the stuff,
I like the effects of the spaceship. I thought that was awesome.
I was going to say the spaceship crash and going in and wrecking into Big Ben and all that, I thought was done really well. You know, it seems like by the time they had the missile, you know, blow up 10 Downing Street, it just looked, that was like, we ran out of money. So
yeah, part of that is just, you can tell it's stock footage of an explosion.
Yeah,
you know, like it looks like it's from a TV program from the 70s.
Or even when the missile was flying through, you know, over the ocean and everything. Oh, they took that footage right from Superman the movie. You know,
we're just gonna have him come out of a shack in a quarry.
Right.
Like it just was like, okay, well, that's all right. But that's fine. You know, like I said, it's not, it was not the pull of the episode for me. Jackie, the relationship with Rose, and the Doctor, and dealing with that, because like I said, that's the first time we deal with that kind of, and actually it's handled well, I think better than it is later on. With some of the other, because the other showrunners do it too, but I don't think they do it nearly as well. I mean, no. I don't, you know, I love Stephen Moffat, but I don't think he really did that well, especially when it came to Jenna, Clara, and what's his name?
Jenna Coleman.
Coleman.
I know,
and Peter Capaldi.
But Clara,
Danny Pink.
Danny Pink.
Oh, yeah.
So, like that all
that,
like
that went nowhere.
Yeah,
no,
and the fact
horrible.
that she was a teacher and all that kind of stuff like that. that really never worked for me. But the relationships here and her coming back and subsequently when she comes back and all that kind of stuff. And I think it really works. They tried to do it again the next season or whatever, 2 seasons with Martha, but I don't think it really works as well there either.
No, well,
No.
yeah, Martha was just hampered from the beginning.
Well, true,
But
but I
then
mean,
you also had Donna's family too. So,
which is, and well, Donna, I think it works. I think Donna, it works pretty well, but
I couldn't stand Donna's mother though.
The thing, and
Well,
the thing about
Donna's mother
Martha
is not likable.
and the thing about
not at all.
Martha's family is that her sister and her mother were played by like amazing actresses, like might have gone on to do pretty amazing things, and yet they couldn't make them interesting in that season. So, I think they only are in a couple of episodes though. So, because Martha didn't have that much of a run. So, but it is interesting that Russell T made that decision to try to ground their companion. Like they didn't just go off and never come back and never talk to their close friends or whatever. And again, it's just like that's the way it happened in the classic series all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got really tired of having basically the same caricature of a middle-aged woman
Over
every
and over,
time.
yeah.
Right.
All the mothers are the same.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that got really old.
Yeah,
And
Russell T has mother issues.
And what's really
Yeah.
strange is that I think with all of those too, there's no real like father figure.
No.
Like the father figure is always missing, right?
Yeah, the father figure's always missing.
Yeah, which is
I mean, the closest you get, I guess, is like Donna's grandfather.
Mhm.
right. Well, I mean, we do meet
You
Rose's
get
dad.
Pete.
Well,
get Pete.
we meet him, yes, but he's absent.
Right. That's
Yes.
exactly right. And Martha's dad is absent too, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think so.
if I remember correctly. So yeah, it's very, very strange how it's like the same thing all 3 times. Like, you're repeating yourself there, Russell T.
Yeah, there's obviously some issues going on there, but join the club. We all have family issues.
Yeah.
But it
I
would
mean,
have been
look,
nice not to see it over and over again. It
Yeah.
would have been nice to see something different.
right. But I think the way it's executed here and the development of here is really interesting, and it's a good thing. I mean, some of the things we know that Russell T tries to implement, like we've said later on, like the love, the romance aspect of it, he's trying something new. A lot of people are not liking that, but at least I think this with the family bond recurring, I think that really works really well.
Very
I
much
mean,
so.
characterization's a real strength of RTD, and I'm so looking forward to having some good characters in the next series, because we did not get them in the last series.
And we know that they're going to be played by mostly played by solid actors because they're already announcing them. So it's like that gives us so much to hope for and look forward to when the new series comes.
It'll be very interesting. Very, very interesting. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up and give it a rating?
I can't think of, I mean, that's pretty much it.
All right.
I think we covered
1
it.
out of 5 TARDISes, folks. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Mikey, go first.
I'm just going to give this a middle of the road. I was going to do 2.5. That's exactly the middle for TARDISes, but I'll do a 3 just because Chris is so fun to watch, and as is Billy. The family stuff is great. Harry Jones is great. Other little casting and characterizations are great. The special effects, at least of the ship, are pretty cool. This Levine really takes it down for me, not just because they fart all the time. I just don't care for them. Like, I don't like them much at all. So they really take it down for me. But everything else I like. So, so 3 for me.
Okay. Mary.
I think I'm gonna give it a 3.25. I'll give it the extra quarter point because on the strength of character.
This isn't Price is Right. And Mike's gonna be like, I bet 1 TARDIS.
Mike will be 3.15. And the thing is, plot is never necessarily the strength of RTD, which is fine. I mean, they're fine, but they're not like all, sort of these twisty plots with some great mystery to them or anything. But his episodes are enjoyable on the strength of character, and it really shows here. And this is one that I was not thrilled about the first time I saw it around. I mean, I have seen it a few more times, but when you go back to it, it's fun and interesting to watch because of the character interactions, not because of the plot or the stupid Slovene who I really could care less about, but I care about the other characters around them a lot, and it makes a big difference.
Okay, I can totally understand that.
Quick question. I think about it. Is this the first time we get a little hint of Bad Wolf?
Yes.
Yeah, it's on.
I couldn't remember if the 3 episodes. Yeah, I couldn't. I mean, it's really obvious there, but yeah. I couldn't remember if there was some more subtle or some clue in the other 3 episodes that predated this that they say Bad.
Yeah, I think this is the first time.
I think this is the first time.
Okay.
The groundwork is being laid, my friend.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All right. For me, I'm going to do a 3.5. Actually, I'll bid above that, Bob. Thank you.
Huh.
So, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. It moved very quickly. It didn't drag at all. There was no downtime in these. And, it's nice being able to watch these on HBO. So I was able to just watch back to back without, any stopping or anything. And it was fun. And it makes me realize how, like everyone's been saying, how great of a doctor Chris was. Chris was awesome. Billy was great. And I'll say that till my face is blue. And it was pretty awesome.
Do that.
No. I'm not going to on the show, no. But it was interesting too, because I liked all the characterizations in this, and the only thing I didn't like was the Slovene, and the storyline about them, that they had a big, that they had a safe zone in their ship, and that they were based under the North Sea, blah blah blah.
Made no sense.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
that they were a great plot.
They were going to sell the Earth off as radioactive pieces, to the highest bidder, and it was like, oh, really?
That's one of those things that I thought, in the hands of somebody like Douglas Adams or Robert Holmes, that could have been done and explored really, really well, and have been a real big satire on some stuff, but very satirical. But in this, it just falls flat.
Yeah.
Oh, very much so. And so it was just interesting. And then, you know what? I would recommend this for somebody who, to watch this whole series of Chris Eccleston. When most people say, where do I start for Doctor Who?
Not with these two.
No.
No.
No. Watch the first 3 before this, before.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And everything. And, well, a lot of this wouldn't make sense to somebody, because they reference, they with Jackie, she references the first episode. So does, Mickey and everything. And, and it's interesting too, because the doctor does ask Mickey to come along in this one at the end, and he turns him down. But, and I like, how they played it off of each other. Like, oh, when Rose asks him, and he's like, and the doctor goes, no, I don't want him on the ship and everything. And the doctor, actually had already done it, and it was pretty awesome. So, 3.5 stars for me. And, as a combined, I don't want to rate them individually. I'm not going to do that.
No. It's no. This is the first time we get a real cliffhanger. And obviously it's clear by now that, instead of being episodic, Russell's going to, now it just seems like all the shows do it. But back then, it was still pretty rare for shows to connect and tell a 1-through storyline for a season. So Russell's doing some interesting things here that will, are ahead of its time, really.
Yes and no. There were other shows that did.
Sure, I didn't say there was no shows.
Yeah, but there, because we had Lost at this point. We had other, shows like that.
Yeah, one show.
No, there were other ones, dude. There were a lot of other ones. So before we, get into total, semantics here, let's wrap it up. We definitely would love to hear from you guys. Please, feedback at ourstationwho.com is the best way to get in touch with us. If you have any news or anything that you want to talk about, speaking of news, we are going to be at Concaster Burris, and they've announced a new guest. That is right.
Woo-hoo.
Captain Jack himself.
Yay.
John Barrowman is going to be there. So watch out, folks. No one is safe. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm going to be very curious to see what kind of dress he's going to be wearing, because he will be in Alabama. So it should be a ton of fun.
He was pretty fabulous in Pensacola.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And
I hope he wears a dress with the Confederate flag.
Oh, no.
No, he's not going to wear the Confederate flag.
No, God,
no.
As a dress? Sure. Why not? That'd really get people upset.
Wow.
Yeah, that would get both sides upset.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he hasn't done that before.
Well, okay. Well, that's going to wrap up the episode. If you want to find out more about Concaster Burris, check it out, concasterburris.com. And you know what? We will be there the whole weekend. We will have a table set up. Stop by, say howdy. So it'll be a great, great time. And all three of us will be there. So it should be fun. It would be great. And we will be involved. We will have panels. And once they come, we decide what they're going to be. We will let you guys know what they're going to be. So we will be there throughout the weekend, and we will have swag. We will have postcards, and, just have Doctor Who talk between us as geeks. It'll be a great time for you guys to stop by. Until then, of course, my name's Mike Faber. We have Mr. Mike Gordon and Ms. Mary Ogle. Thank you, as always, for listening, and we will see you here next time on Earth Station Who. Peace, and we are done. And no, I'm not going to fart at the end, so it's okay.
Yeah.
That was the perfect opportunity.
Exactly.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a bi-weekly pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talents from across the universe. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individual and are used for entertainment value alone. You subscribe to our podcast up on iTunes, Stitcher, or follow our blog at www.esopodcast.com. You can also follow us up on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. If you enjoyed the show, please leave feedback up on iTunes.
Pardon the interruption. We'll bring you back to your podcast in just a moment. But first, promo for the Cosmic Pizza Podcast.
Here on the ESO Network, 3 hosts recommend this podcast.
I recommend it.
I recommend it.
And I recommend it.
On the Cosmic Pizza Podcast, it's a slice of life as we discuss literally anything in the universe. Cosmic Pizza Podcast.
Here to serve all of your needs.
Wednesday, I'm here with you people. It's like wild.
No pizzas were harmed in the creation of this podcast.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.